I am a mother to 10 kids. Caden, Austin, Vaughn, Greta, Cora, Spencer, Asher, Sawyer, Grace, and Vance. And another one's coming in July. Vaughn's best friend was Alex. They were inseparable. They played hockey together in the winter. They worked together in the summer. And they were always hanging out. I noticed Vaughn hadn't asked to do anything with Alex for a while. When I asked him about it, he said, I don't know what happened. I call him. He says he can't do anything. Then I find out he went to his other friend's house instead. I'm thinking, he's ghosting you. I tell Vaughn, I'm sure it's not about anything you've done. Alex just needs his space right now. A few weeks later, I'm making dinner in the kitchen. And Vaughn's older brother comes in. Mom, you better go downstairs to check on Vaughn. I grab my husband, Mitchell, and we head downstairs. Vaughn's sitting there with his head in his hands, but Mom, it hurts so bad. I just want to die. I just want to die. Pain shoots through my heart while I sit there hugging him while he sobs uncontrollably. I'm so sorry. I know this hurts. We love you. We're here to help you. I wasn't worried that Vaughn would hurt himself that day. I knew he actually wouldn't try to kill himself. But I've studied psychology and human behavior in college. I have 2 life coaching certificates, and I've worked with suicidal teens and their parents in the hospital. I knew what Vaughn needed was for me to be his mom, to listen to him, to validate his feelings, and help him reframe this tough life situation of being ghosted so he could see this wasn't the end of his world. I also know a lot of parents don't know what to do in situations like these. And these situations are escalating dramatically. In the last 10 years, teen suicide is up 48%. And for every one of those kids that die, it's estimated there are another 100 to 200 kids who are trying to take their life. In my experience, a large part of this is being driven by lack of quality communication between teens and their parents. In one study, parents report speaking to their teens for only 4 hours a week. Well, about a year later, Vaughn's doing great. Caden calls me in a panic. Mom, what do I do? Sam is sending me messages of him cutting himself. What? Sam's 17. He clearly feels like he can't go to his own mom and dad, so he's reaching out to Caden, who's 15. Caden should not have to deal with this. I'm so grateful I've had good communication with Caden, so he feels comfortable reaching out to me, and he's not trying to deal with this alone. When I was a kid, I'd go to my mom and dad with something. They'd either freak out or ground me. Caden knows I'm not going to do that. And if you have a good relationship with your child will come to you too. So many times at the hospital, I talked to parents who just found out that their child had attempted suicide. And they'd say, we had no idea she was in so much pain. This is why I say that we, the parents, need to be the first line of defense. And we are failing our children. The biggest mistake we can make is to think that if our child has thoughts of killing themselves, that they're going to call a suicide hotline. We need to be that hotline long before then. It's our job to create good communication with our children and also be prepared when they alert us about their friends and peers. If you want your child to come talk to you, they need to feel seen, heard, and loved. When I've asked parents, does your child feel seen, heard, and loved? They say, yeah. But sadly, their children don't often agree. Back when I was a kid, there weren't mental health professionals in schools. But somehow, in the last 25 years, teen depression and anxiety is up 70%. Not only do most schools now have mental health professionals, but they're busier than ever. And it's estimated that for every 100,000 students, there's 14 psychiatrists available. That's 14 psychiatrists for 100,000 students. Yet every parent has a couch in their own living room and ears to listen. In our living room, we had this big white L-shaped leather couch. You can imagine how difficult it was to keep that thing white and clean. After thinking about getting rid of it for about a year, I finally grabbed two of my boys and told them, "Get this thing out of here. If it's gone, I'll have to find a new one." That night after dinner, the kids, they're all standing around the living room, looking at me like, "Come on, Mom, where are we supposed to sit?" Stopped me in my tracks. It wasn't until then I never thought about the conversations we had on that couch. I mean, the things that couch has heard. Who's going to be the first kid to beat Dad in hockey? Who was out after curfew? And who got pulled over by the police? Sometimes those conversations were with one kid, sometimes a few of them, and sometimes all of them for a family meeting where we'd ask our kids things like, "What's different about our home than other homes you go to?" You know what they say? In other people's homes, they're on their screens or their phones. Not a whole lot of conversations are taking place. So before we send our kids to sit on a psychiatrist's couch, let's sit them down on our own couches and listen to them. Therapists will always be there for additional assistance, but let's stop outsourcing these parental conversations we need to be having at home with our own children on our own couches. You think your kids don't want this? The other night, Mitchell was insisting, "Our teens don't want to hang out with us anymore." I'm saying, yes, they do. So I go upstairs to our library, I grab the book, The 5 Love Languages for Teenagers, I bring it down, and I have Mitchell give the boys the quiz. Anybody want to guess what their top love language was? Or still is? It's quality time. Our teens need us. Our children need us, even when they're trying to push us away. So here's what we all can do to cultivate better relationships with our children. Number one, they want to be seen for who they are, not just who you're trying to push them to be. So notice them and say things like, "I notice you seem really stressed lately. Is everything okay?" Or, "You've been running a lot with your friends. Get over here. I'd love to hear about what you've been up to." Number two, they want to feel heard. When they come ask you, "Hey, Mom, do you got a minute?" Do you say, "Yeah, sure"? Or is it more often, "I'm sorry, I'm just too busy right now. It's going to have to wait"? When you do make time to listen, what's worked for Mitchell and me is to be vulnerable and share stories of when we were kids. My kids know about the time I was left out of a friends group in school, or the time I was almost failing a class in college. But their favorite story is when Mitchell got called Michelle over the loudspeaker at school. Number three, finally, your child wants to feel loved. One of my favorite ways of making them feel loved is by writing them a letter. This is especially nice for parents for maybe that don't have the best relationship with their child. So for instance, I might write, "I am so proud of you. You've worked so hard for this. I am so blessed to be your mother. And if something maybe isn't going so well, I might write, I am so sorry I haven't been able to be here for you. I want you to know you're more important than my work, more important than my hobbies, and that I'm always here for you to come talk to." This is how you become their suicide hotline. This is how you ensure that when they're struggling, they're coming to you. We need doctors, we need medications, we need suicide hotlines. But you are at home with your child. You know your child's history better. You have more contact with your child. You have more intuition. So be available and listen to them. Be by their side and let them know that you are fighting for them no matter what. The other day, I was driving with my 12-year-old daughter, Greta. She told me, Mom, one of my friends told me she wants to get a sneak phone. A sneak phone, you know that phone that parents don't know about? Then Greta tells me, Mom, I told her mom and dad aren't trying to be mean. They just don't want bad things to happen to her. That's the world we all want to live in, one where we're taking care of each other. So let's commit to being the parents that we need to be. Let's reestablish our relationships with our children so that when they're struggling, they have big feelings, or they're facing obstacles, they're not going to their peers. They're coming to us first. We can always get them the extra help that they need, but let's make sure that we, the parents, are always our children's first line of defense.